Well, hello, my young grasshoppers. Today, we are going to be talking about how to factor quadratics. Now, make sure you get yourselves a piece of paper out for notes. We'll be snapping a picture of our notes when it's all said and done. Before we actually get into the process of actually factoring quadratics, I want to make sure that we talk about the magic numbers. So, um, what we did last week at the end is we were doing problems where I gave you a top number, so like multiplies to be 10, and I gave you a bottom number, adds up to be 11. And then I said, go ahead and figure out what two numbers multiplied to be 10 had to be 11. That's what I did. And that one would have been 111. What we're going to see is how to actually figure out what the top number is and what the bottom number is when you're given a quadratic. Okay. So the general form of a quadratic is this. We have ax squared plus bx plus c. And the a, the b, and the c are coefficients. So, like that's a general form. We could have something like this, 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. So in this scenario, the a would be 2, because that's the number in front of the x squared. The b, the number in front of the x, I just realized I wrote a equals a, which is not a false statement, but I meant a equals 2. B, okay, is a number in front of the x, so that would be the 11. And our c is the number without an x on it, the number without a variable. So that would be our 5. Now, those numbers are important because they help us fill in our information. The number we put on top is going to be whatever a times c is. So in this particular one, we have 2 times 5. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. The bottom number, it's always whatever b is. So in our example problem here, that would be 11. So we'd be looking at what multiplies to be 10 and adds up to be 11. And the process of doing that is still the same. When in doubt, don't forget to start with 1 on the number, and that's what this one actually is, 1 times 10. 1 times 10 is 10, 1 plus 10 is 11, and then I'll show you as we go and get past this step how to utilize those values, okay? So let's look at how to make magic numbers with these two. So for the letter A, I'm going to make my X here for letter A. Now on the top, you're putting whatever A times C is. And that would be 3 times 1. So multiplies would be 3. Okay. On the bottom, you're putting whatever the B value is. And that would be 4. So I'm looking for something that multiplies to be 3, adds to be 4. Remember, when in doubt, start with 1 in the number. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So I have 1 and 3. And these are the two important numbers that we would need to go forward. With letter B here, let's make our X. So on top, we take A and C and we multiply them together. 4 times 9. Well, 4 times 9 is 36. Okay, so it multiplies to be 36, and then it adds up to be the B value. So whatever this is, adds up to be negative 15. Now, again, some of you are going to be able to think of it. Some of you are going to need to go through the process. When in doubt, start with one number. 1 times 36 is 36. 1 plus 36 is 37. So that's not it. Next number is 2. Remember to get my other part. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So 2 times 18 is 36. 2 plus 18 is 20. Not it. Next number is 3. 36 divided by 3 is 12. 3 times 12 is 36. 3 plus 12 is positive 15. So the thing I have to remember is I can do negative times a negative. And that's what it ends up being. Negative 3 and negative 12 are our two magic numbers. All right, let's go ahead and look at these two. So for letter C, A and C multiplied together goes on top, so it'd be negative 24. Because remember, 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. The B value, the 5, goes on the bottom. Okay? And then if I'm not sure, I go through the process. 1 times the number. Well, 1 times negative 24 is negative 24. If I add that, I get negative 23. So that's not it. Next number is 2. Negative 24 divided by 2 is negative 12. That multiplies. But if I add, that's going to add to be negative 10. So that's not going to work. Next number is 3. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. That multiplies right. But when I add this, I actually add up to negative 5. So again, one of them has to be negative, but I can just switch it around. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. Negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5. We have our two magic numbers. And these are the most important numbers that we have. Okay. Letter D, the last one here. Remember, A and C get multiplied together. That's negative 10. Adds up to be the B value, negative 3. Again, if I'm unsure, start with 1 in the number. 1 times negative 10. Well, if I add those, I'm going to get negative 9. Not it. Negative 10 divided by 5 is, negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. And there they are, our two numbers. Okay. All right. What I want you guys to do, hopefully this loads up. Come on, Bessie. But I'm going to want you guys to pause the video here in a second. It looks like I'm going to have to reboot this. Apologize. Let me open this back up with Cammie. All right. What I want you guys to do is go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to get the magic numbers for these 10. Okay, the most time you should spend is 8 minutes. Try to get as many as you can in 8 minutes. Go. All righty. I'm going to draw my X's here, and then we'll get our answers in a second. And I want to make sure, because some of you might have gotten more done than others. But these are the problems we should have had set up. Multiplies to be negative 20, adds to be 1. Multiplies to be 40, adds to be negative 22. Multiplies to be negative 12, adds to be negative 1. Multiplies to be negative 50, adds to be negative 23. Multiplies to be 40, adds to be 22. Multiplies to be 25, adds to be 26. Multiplies to be 9, adds to be negative 10. Boom. Boom. And boom. Okay. And then our answers here. Okay. For this one, it would be 5 and negative 4. Okay. For number 2, okay, you can't forget about 1 in the number. It'd be 1 and 25. For 3, Going to need two negatives. Going to need -2 and -20. Okay, for number 4, going to need two negatives, -1 and -9. -1 times -9 is +9. I add it up, I get -10. Number 5, that is a -1, just in case we weren't sure. That would be 3 and -4. Number 6 would be 4 and -6. Number 7 would be 2 and -25. Number 8 would be -2 and 5. Number 9 would be 2 and 20. And last but not least, number 10, you have to go all the way to 5. It'd be 5 and 12. Okay. Now, we are going to get into probably the most important thing that we are going to be doing here towards the end of the year, and that is factoring. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you a method that I like to refer to as the airplane method. Okay. There's different ways to do this. When I was taught this, it was just all guess and check. We just kind of had to figure it out. And that's not a very fun way. So the one thing that is important that we can't get around is this. We have got to be able to get these magic numbers. If we can't get the magic number, we can't factor. Okay? So our steps, and I'm going to tell you, we are not going to see a bunch of problems that have step 1 in them just for time. But the first thing we actually should do is you should always check to divide out a greatest common factor. We want to factor that out immediately. If you don't do that right away and it's there, you're not going to arrive at the correct answer. Okay. The second thing is we are going to make our magic numbers, and that's the whole X thing. Okay. Remember, A times C is on top, adds to B. Okay. And that's going to get us these two numbers. And those are the things that we need. Now, once we get that, we're going to fill the two numbers. It's irrelevant which one you put where, but you're going to fill the two numbers in this similar fashion. Now, we'll see that as we go through. Okay, a few examples. Okay, so this is what I call putting out the wings, and then we're going to divide it. We're going to finish the problem. We have to land the plane. We need to put our wheels down. So we're going to check each of these things individually and check for something to divide out, and then we're going to write our final factored form answer. We're going to go through 4 examples here on how that works. Okay. Please make sure that if you are unsure about this, that you attend one of the Google Meets during the week, because this is something that's extremely important for us as we try to move on in math. It's going to be very difficult to have success in any math above algebra without being able to do this. Okay. So here's our first problem. Go ahead and write this one down. The instructions say to factor completely. Okay, this is factor each one completely. And we have b squared minus 12b plus 35. So the first thing is to check for something to divide out. And guys, I'm going to tell you, most of the time we're not going to have anything to divide out. Okay, for this one, I have the numbers 1, -12, and 35. There's nothing I can divide in all three of this. So if it's 1, it's done. Okay, and we're going to start our plane. So make your propeller, your X. On the top, remember it's A times C. So 1 times 35 is 35. On the bottom is our B, -12. And then we need to figure out what in the world the magic numbers are. In this particular one, the magic numbers, we have to use negative times a negative. It's going to be -5 times -7. Okay? And these are the two important numbers we're going to need out of that. Negative 5 times negative 7 is negative, is positive 35. I add that up, I get negative 12. Okay. And we're going to put our wings out. We start our propeller, we're going to get up in the air with these wings out. Now, the first part, you are going to write this down, but without the exponent of 2. So I'm just going to write 1b and 1b. That's it. Okay. Now, there's a reason why I don't put 1b squared, because this is the opposite of multiplying. If I multiplied b times b, that's what's going to make the b squared happen. If I wrote b squared and b squared here, that would make that b to the 4th. It's no longer going to work. So 1b, 1b. And then the magic numbers go in these other spots. So on one of them, I'm going to put the minus 5. On the other one, I'm going to put the minus 7. Okay. Now, that's not going to always be the right answer. Now, I need to check. I need to put my wheels down. Okay. And I got to think individually. What can I divide out of 1 and 5? 1. What can I divide out of 1 and 7? 1. And I'm going to test my 2 wheels. These are my 2 wheels. If I do it right, these 2 things should multiply to be our A value. 1 times 1 is 1. Good. I'm going to write my final answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide by 1. I get B minus 5. Divide by 1, I get B minus 7. Now, for the record, it would be perfectly accurate to have these written like that. As long as you have these 2 binomials, it is correct. It does not matter which binomial you put first. Okay, let's look at a second example. Okay, so let's look at this one. So this time we have 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. Well, first thing I check, what can I divide out? 2, 3, 9. When it's done, start your propeller. On the top, A times C. So 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. On the bottom, my B value, 3. Now I've got to go through the process of figuring it out. 1 times negative 18. Nope, that doesn't add up right. 2. 2 times negative 9. If I add that, I get negative 7. Nope. And negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. Well, that gives me negative 3. So I'm just going to flip that around. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. So I have them. Put my wings out. Okay, again, I'm going to start with this first term, but without the exponent. So it's just 2n and 2n. Now, this isn't going to be right because 2n times 2n is 4n squared, and that's not going to work. Okay, and then remember, I'm going to put my magic number. So I'm going to put minus 3 here. I'm going to put my 6 here. Okay, plane's up in the air. I need to land the plane. Okay, divide. See, 2 and 3. There's nothing I can divide out, so it's a 1. 2 and 6. I can divide out a 2. And I check my wheels. 1 times 2 is 2. So I know I did that part right. I just have to divide this out. And I'm going to have 2n minus 3. I'm going to divide both these by 2. So 2n divided by 2, that's n. 6 divided by 2, that's 3. And that would be my final factored form. Okay. Now, if I multiplied this, I should end up getting this exact same thing to start. I'll show you that on the very last problem. Okay. Let's look at the third one. Let's write this one down. 10b squared plus 17b plus 6. First thing I do, I check. Is there anything I can divide out? For this one, 10, 17, 6. There's nothing I can divide evenly into all 3. So 1, it's done. Okay, start your propeller. So make your X. A and C get multiplied on the outside. So 10 times 6 is 60. It's got to add up to be our b value. Now from here, I need to get my two magic numbers. Okay, so 1 times 60, that adds up to 61. 60 divided by 2 is 30. If I add it, I get 32. So far, no. 60 divided by 3 is 20. That adds up to 23. 60 divided by 4 is 15. I'm getting closer because 4 plus 15 is 19. 60 divided by 5 is 12. There it is. Okay. Now, propeller's all good to go. Okay, put your wings out. I got to think, what should we start with? Take this without the exponent of 2. So 10b and 10b. And then the magic numbers are what fill in the rest. So 10b plus 5 and 10b plus 12. Well, let's look at what I can divide out. 10 and 5, I can divide by 5. 10 and 12, I can divide by 2. I check my tires. 5 and 2. 5 times 2 is 10, so I know I'm good. I just need to divide it out. So 10b divided by 5 is 2b. 5 divided by 5 is 1. On the second one, 10b divided by 2 is 5b. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And this is our final factored form. Okay. One more here together. Let's look at this one here. 6r squared minus r minus 2. Now, always check. What can I divide into everything? It's nothing, so 1, it's done. Start your propeller. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. That goes on top. And then on the bottom, I have a negative 1. Okay. So magic numbers, I should get 3 and negative 4. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. And I put my wings out. Remember, we're going to start with this value, but without the exponent. So we have 6r and 6r. And then I put my magic numbers here. Plus 3, minus 4. Okay? Now, I'm going to make a mistake on purpose here because I need you to see how the tires work and how that's important. Okay? So when I'm checking this, I look at this one. What can I divide out? And let's just say that I did not see anything and I wrote a 1 down. Okay? 6r and negative 2. Let's say I knew that one was correct. They are both even, so they divide by 2. And watch what happens if I go to check my tires. 1 times 2. Well, 1 times 2 is 2. And I'm supposed to get a 6 out of that. Okay? If I'm not getting a 6, well, that's a problem. Something's wrong with my tires. Okay? So we've got to get this part right. 6 and 3, I can divide both those values by 3. And I check it. 2 times 3 is 6. Good. Now I have it right. Okay, so you always got to make sure, it doesn't take long, but check to make sure that your tires, that they actually work. They have to multiply to be whatever this A value is. Now let's go ahead and divide it out. 6r divided by 3 is 2r. 3 divided by 3 is 1. For the second one, 6r divided by 2 is 3r. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And this would be my factored form. Now, you do not ever have to do this, but I want you to see this is the factored form. If I went ahead and multiplied this, made my 2 by 2 box, I want you to see what happens. See, 2r plus 1, 3r minus 2, and I multiplied this, I would get 6r squared, negative 4r, 3r, negative 2. Add up my like terms, I get 6r squared. These two add up to negative 1r. And look, I end up, when I go and multiply, I end up back at the starting answer. Okay? And that is a huge deal, is to be able to separate this, because that's going to be one of the strategies we use in order to solve. Okay? So, that is the airplane method. I'm going to assume that we might have some questions, so there's going to be a couple Google Meets throughout the week. If you can't make one of those times, you need to contact me specifically, because I want to be able to help you with this. It's too important going forward in math. Okay? Now, you have a couple things to do. You do have a worksheet on Kami. Okay, there's 10 problems that you need to factor. And then also, once that's done, okay, don't forget to take a picture, attach it to your Google Classroom, guys. Put it all in the same spot. All you gotta do, there's a button where you can attach more things. Okay, attach a picture of you holding your notes, okay, with your Chromebook. And then once you have both things done, turn in your assignment. Okay. Again, if you have questions, please make sure you attend one of the Google Meets. And I hope you guys do have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Adios.